Is attitude really able to change outcomes?
Is the glass half full or half empty? Or both, or neither?
Does anxiety help or hinder problem solving?
Good evening, and welcome to Kitchen Sink Microscopy. I am Casey Rochford, your esteemed bald host. Yes.
And I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and I'm not going to do that Sean Connery voice. But
it kind of morphed into that.
Yeah, it kind of did. Like the Patrick Stewart, Sean Connery hybrid or something. I don't. Yeah, I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and Casey and I, we write our own music together and sometimes apart. And you can check out a song. There will probably be one at the end of the episode, maybe one you've heard, maybe not. So enjoy that. All right, Casey. So what should we talk about today?
Well, I just got back to Germany from my mom's funeral, and kind of wrapped everything up in the United States for a while. So I brought over like all my stuff from childhood and whatnot, and I was just now like unpacking everything and going through stuff, and I found this like scrapbook I made. I don't even know how old I was. I was a kid though, and it was a bunch of little clippings from the News Tribune, where they used to have this like trivia section. I don't know if you remember that.
I think I do. Yeah.
Kind of obscure, and I don't even think they kept it up, but it was done by L.M. Boyd, whomever he or she is. And it was just kind of cool stuff. Like each paragraph was like a different thing. And it if you read it like front to back and didn't really know what it was, it would make absolutely no sense. But it's just like a bunch of little fun facts and stuff.
Okay.
And some of them were quite philosophical in nature. So I thought it might be kind of cool to discuss this one particular paragraph, which I have here in my handy scrapbook with my yellowing newspaper, because I'm that old. Newspaper alone makes me old. So when you worry, if typical, you worry about what might happen or what might not happen. Whichever, turn it around to relieve anxiety. In Scotland, that's common counsel. A Scottish proverb goes, what may be, may not be. That's not Scottish. It's more Cockney.
Yeah.
But I like that saying, what may be, may not be. You know, like if you're worried about something, does it really play out that way, where if you just kind of tell yourself more of the opposite, like what probably won't happen, you know?
Yeah.
Does that really help? Like, is that a good philosophy?
Well, that actually is kind of a very stoic way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, from my own perspective, like studying and following Stoicism, like, you can't, like, worrying doesn't really change the outcome. It doesn't, it only changes the inside, but it doesn't alter any other variable except what's in your head. And it typically makes things worse, right? Like you spend more time worrying and less time doing or preparing, that kind of thing.
But it, you know, like this goes back to the optimism versus pessimism argument. Like, I kind of feel like allowing yourself at least some time to worry about something allows you to create a sort of chessboard in your head.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at, you know, potential things that might be coming your way, prepare for them, or, you know, like set your course. on the way that looks like the best way to win, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm not saying you should just disregard everything and just kind of be neutral. No, I mean, in engineering, that's kind of what you do is contemplate all the variables, like all the what ifs. Like, okay, well, worst case scenario, let's build things around that. And so maybe in that sense, that's fine, but like I think it's the internalizing of worry versus just simply recognizing that there is a potential and going from that. That's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like there's a lot of people who basically they just worry. Like, oh my God, I don't know the unknown. And they just focus on it and it spins around and around and around. And like it's like, well, that doesn't benefit you. It actually makes things worse. Like first off, you're wasting time that could be put to other things. And a lot of times like what may be may not be, basically it's like, okay, well, if you don't know, if you're not like omniscient, there's no point in really concerning yourself, because it's like, especially the things that could go either way. There's really, yeah, it's a waste of energy to worry about it. um
Well, so what do you think about the whole idea that attitude changes outcomes? Like,
I think it does to some extent. I mean, if you come in with like a self-defeated attitude, like where you assume you just can't do it, um, it does change versus like if you come in with kind of a confident attitude, right? Like, I'm going to make this work one way or another. I suppose they both have their pros and cons.
mhm.
And certainly it depends on who you are and what you're doing, right?
Yeah,
I know in sports too, that's one thing where this is like a fairly well documented effect where, say like a basketball player pictures before they throw the ball, they picture themselves making it into the basket. And statistically, that actually does improve the outcome.
yeah. I don't know how much of that is like a mental control of the situation, more as like focus,
Yeah.
because like they kind of teach you to do the very same thing riding a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're driving a car, you look all over the place. You're looking like directly in front of you and whatever. But in a motorcycle, you got to look way far out there.
Yeah.
And that helps your balance. It also helps your safety by seeing things coming your way that could kill you.
Well, and it prevents also, like, kind of like, I guess you could almost say it'd be kind of akin to like letting go, like
Mhm.
trust your training. Essentially, you just
Yes.
I mean, that's the same thing. I ride a scooter all the time, and it's like, yeah, you just relax and just let your body interface with this machine and feel the machine and keep keep your eyes where you're going, essentially. And because you should intuitively know how to operate it. And if
Yeah.
something weird happens, like there was a time I turned a corner and there was this kind of a curb that was really difficult to see jutting out, and I bumped into it and like completely was about to lose control, but I just kind of like gave it gas and like leaned in and took control of it. Like, okay. Whereas
Yeah.
otherwise, if you didn't just like kind of let go, like stay relaxed through that, people would wobble and overcorrect and like
Yeah.
panic, essentially. And yeah, so I mean, there's something
Remaining
to be said
calm
for that.
is probably one of the most important things.
And that right there, for the sports side of things, like maybe that what that does is, you're imagining yourself, like, and it kind of causes you to be at peace, where that gives you better control,
Mhm.
as opposed to like basically essentially being in a state of high energy or anxiety or something like that. That now your anxiety has more control than your conscious mind, or even your subconscious. Maybe some of this is like a lot of subconscious stuff that by letting your conscious mind be at ease, now your subconscious, the training essentially can come out and just do what it's been trained to do.
Yeah. I wonder if uh, like I had mentioned with optimism and pessimism, I wonder if uh, even in that philosophy, there's kind of a contained sort of attitude directing how well either of those work in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
By that, I mean, like, if you're pessimistic because that's your process to solve a problem versus being pessimistic where like you're just self-pitying and you want like someone to do your shit for you or something.
Yeah.
I think even within optimism and pessimism you can have like a correct way and a wrong way to do them both.
Sure. Sure.
Because
Well,
there's
like I
also like
said,
on the other side, there's overconfident people that are like, yeah, I can fix your car, and then they make it worse.
yeah, yeah. No,
Like,
you're right. You're
okay,
right.
that's not good.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah,
but like when it comes to problem solving, yeah, like I think it's important. Well, like troubleshooting and stuff. One of the very first steps is remain calm. Like if there's an emergency, right? In every emergency process that ever was, the very first step is calm down.
emergency,
Yeah,
emergency.
yeah.
There's an emergency going on.
Yep. Well, and I
Still
see it all
going
the
on.
time. I see it all the time in my line of work too. Like,
Mhm.
lots of really otherwise intelligent people when they're faced with some kind of panic situation where everybody's freaking out. Um, and then they freak out and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. And they're like going back and forth. And it's like, just stop. Just calm down. Yes, I know. There's a huge line of customers here. We did something weird to the server. Okay. Well, let's just go through the process. Let's go
Mhm.
through the troubleshooting process and ignore all that noise that of everybody panicking and they're like, we're losing money. And like, don't think about that because it doesn't benefit you to even contemplate that. Obviously, it
Yeah.
does in the sense that you should work quickly, like don't take your time. But like, okay, zero all that stuff out while you solve this problem. And that's really, really important, I think. And
Yeah.
that's like, you know what I'm
But
saying?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, and like remaining calm also allows your brain to not just focus but like optimize.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're too calm and let's say you have a line of customers, you might start doing something that like at least gets you through it, but you might not be putting any effort into thinking of a way to like at least try to make it faster or more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be like making your work harder, kind of prolonging the stress that you're actively trying to suppress,
Mm-hmm.
because the stress is there. Like it, just because you remain calm does not mean you're not under stress.
Sure,
And
sure.
it's
Well, yeah.
really
So,
easy to forget that when you're you know telling yourself like, oh, I just got to calm down, but like,
mhm.
things do keep piling up,
That's
and
true. Well, and that's where kind of like looking from the inside out, I guess, or something where you um you do kind of have to ignore a lot of that, and that does kind of require like a mental shift. But it's like you can still logically follow, like it would logically follow that yes, you should not take your time. You should work quickly. But
right.
another thing too is especially in customer service, um, confidence, projecting an air of confidence is actually quite important. Like for me in working in IT and stuff, because if I panic too and the store manager is panicking, like, well, now I'm just it's a feedback system. Like they're panicking too,
Yeah.
like they're going to see me panic and they're going to then they're going to panic more. So it's like if I'm like, yep, okay, I'm going to figure this out, I'll get it taken care of right away, go in there, work on it, figure it out, then that puts everybody at ease. And even
Yeah.
though it's like, even if it takes a while, that confidence calms people down. Sort of like, if you're, I don't know, an EMT or something like that, you're dealing with some kind of injury or whatever. Like if they were running around like, oh my God, what do we do? Oh, Jesus. Oh, then now you as the person that's been injured, you're going to start being like, man, do these people even know what they're doing? Like, but you see a lot of these people, first responders and stuff, they're confident, they follow a process, they have like they communicate and like just, knock things out, go through the process, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's an aspect, I suppose, because there's the solving the problem, but there's also the human side of things where it's like, if there's other people involved, then you as the first responder, I guess, need to also project that confidence and calmness. Even if inside you might be wanting to panic, it's important not to calm everybody down, because then they start.
When it comes to like problem solving, like say you're a first responder, or like you're just like nobody else is jumping in to do something, but something needs to be done, and you might be telling yourself like, I can't do it. But like, if bad shit happens anyway, well, like maybe you try, because you may be unable to, but you may not be unable to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and the thing is, it's like, this is kind of what I always run around in my head as a concealed carry holder. Like, if I ever had to draw my firearm to defend like myself or somebody else, in particular, it's the somebody else thing. Like, it's pretty easy to justify defending yourself, but when you have to defend another person, it's like, well, my personal life is not on the line, but that other person's is. And so it's like, okay, well, who's going to do it? You have to do it. Like, okay, maybe I'm not a marksman, like perfect shot, but like, you got to do it. Because like, if you don't, this person may die.
But you also got to like consider what's what are the variables in the scenario. Like, is the person being shot at actually like deserving of it? Like, did they do something horrible?
Well, no, you're right. Yeah, and that's where calming down, like the first step being remain calm, so that you can take in what's going on and kind of try to objectively analyze it and be like, well, what is really going on here? Because maybe the best situation is to point your gun at both parties and be like, okay, stop.
I mean, that is kind of the police mentality. They come into a situation, and this is probably like one of the few good pieces of training that they get, is that they don't make any assumptions of who's the good guy and who's the bad guy here, because
especially if they come upon a scene, if it's like, okay, well, if there's somebody like breaking into your house and like you call the cops, right, they're gonna know, oh, the occupant of this house is the one who called, and
they don't know who that looks like, right?
That's true. This is true. So, but if the guy hasn't gotten in yet or something, right, then it's pretty obvious who the perpetrator is.
Or like a girl calls 911 and it's a guy like with a gun pointed at her. Then that's obvious.
That's pretty simple to figure out. Yeah.
But I mean, like in a lot of situations, you're not going to know enough variables, to at least not to justify ending a life over it.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it's like, whenever things escalate to that point, that like the closer it gets to that, that's the more effort you have to put into like figuring out what's going on.
Yeah,
basically, because that is kind of the final. It's like the nuclear option, essentially. Like, well, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
It's not
because in the vein of the Scottish proverb, you might be shooting the bad guy, but you might not be shooting the bad guy. And then what? Then your life's upside down. Then somebody else has lost an innocent loved one, and it gets messier.
Exactly.
So, it's complicated.
It is. It definitely is. But I mean, like, what else can we talk about in terms of like this optimism, pessimism thing and things like that?
I mean, in terms of the scope of the proverb, I think we fleshed it out pretty good. But there is there's definitely a lot more to go into with some of the tangents that we've covered, like, the Good Samaritan aspect, the glass half full or half empty
Mm-hmm.
sort of mentality. Like those could almost be two entirely different episodes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, like that's something. I mean, we talked about Stoicism in the past, but this ties into Stoic philosophy.
That's
Uh,
true.
and the
We'll link to the episode of it.
yeah. Well, because I mean, we had, as we had discussed, a lot of people think it basically means switching off your emotions, which is wholly not true.
No.
It's just basically changing your perspective. That's in essence what it involves.
Yeah.
Depending on how you're looking at something, it's changing your perspective and also altering the way you react and respond to things, because ultimately that is your choice. The world, external forces do not make you feel a thing. You make you feel a thing based on your interpretation of external things, and you can choose whether or not to allow that to happen and what you do as a result of that. You can choose what you feel about it, that kind of thing. And obviously the perspective that you're looking at something from sort of changes how it appears, I guess. Like, what is something could be good or bad depending on what angle you're looking at it from.
Yeah. Huh. Well, unless you have anything further, we could probably make that kind of a shorter
Yeah,
discussion.
I think that's pretty good. And hey, the viewers, hey guys, everybody, put a comment down there. Give us a comment. Maybe we can expand on this later.
Yeah.
Add
Like
to it.
going over other trivia items could, each paragraph could be an episode almost.
That's true.
Like that one time we did a survey.
Yeah.
On the episode. That was super good.
That was fun. I wish I had gotten more of those in the mail. Like that was neat. Yeah. So I'd like to hear people's comments, what they think about things, and maybe we'll do a follow-up if we get enough comments. Yeah, so thanks for
enjoy the song, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Oh yeah. See you on the other end, whatever that means. In the next episode.
Digital dream, fiery eyes in the night still conspire. Infernal thing, nightmarish spread.